She must have an itch. Cinnamon, you got an itch there? You scratch your back a little bit? Yeah, that's gotta feel good, doesn't it? Uh-huh. You're gonna knock my fence down, girl. Oh, silly cow. So it looks like she's got a little bit of an itch there. If a big Scottish Highland cow decides to do that, I might have a problem with my fence. Well, what's up guys, it's Rhett from the 100 Acre Wood Highlands here on the 2nd of January 2020, the start of a brand new year, and it is beautiful out here today. It hit almost 60 degrees today, no wind, sun is shining, and I'm out here spending some time today with my cows. And I wanted to take a few minutes today to talk about some of the major reasons that I chose to raise Scottish Highland cows. So in the past here on the farm we raised other kinds of animals. When I was little I raised chickens, in school I raised pigs, my sister raised goats, and my dad raised commercial cattle for most of my life, but we hadn't had cattle for quite a long time, and I'd always liked Scottish Highland cattle. And I knew that was the kind I really wanted to raise, but I had to kind of do some research and kind of convince myself that it would be worthwhile for me to spend the money to start growing my own herd of Highlands. So today I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why I chose Scottish Highland cattle, and the number one reason that I think that most people like Scottish Highland cattle is simply just the way that they look. Cinnamon here, she's got a long coat of kind of light red hair. Her horns are getting bigger. She's just nearly a year and a half. And Scottish Highland they're just beautiful. They've got the distinctive long hair and horns, and they've got a double layer of hair that helped them to thrive in the environment that they originally come from, which is the Scottish Highlands in Scotland. So here in Oklahoma, the weather can get pretty hot in the summer. It's not uncommon for the weather to get above 100 degrees. And so that was one of my main concerns, was how are these cattle going to do with this long shaggy hair when we get into our summer months of, you know, July and August. And you know, they do surprisingly well. My cattle, they shed a lot of their hair in the summer. They spend a lot of time brushing up against cedar trees and other little trees and shedding some of their hair. Here, Penny wants some. But here in Oklahoma, I was a little concerned about how are they going to do in the hot summer heat. It's not that uncommon for us to have, you know, more than a month's worth of time that's over 100 degrees in the summer. And it gets pretty humid, and I just thought, man, how are these cows with this long shaggy hair going to do? And they did surprisingly well. They shed a lot of this hair in the summer. Yeah, if we went around the farm and looked at a lot of the cedar trees, you can see areas where they've rubbed up against it and lost some of that summer hair. And they spent a lot of time in the shade. They spent a lot of time in the pond. And they adapted to their environment here really well. And now that we're into the winter time, even though the temperature today is almost 60 degrees, these Scottish Highland cattle require less protein supplements in the wintertime because they have this outer layer of hair that's going to keep them warm. So the number one reason is their looks. This long shaggy hair and these long horns is one of the most iconic breed of cattle that people recognize. And even though that's my number one reason why I decided I wanted to raise them, I was concerned that shaggy hair was going to cause problems when we got into the summer heat. But they've done surprisingly really well in this environment, and as long as they have access to shade and water during the summertime, they're going to do just fine. So let's talk about the second reason that I wanted to raise these cows. So the second reason that I wanted to raise this breed of cattle is the ease of raising this particular breed. I'm not a full-time farmer. We just run this as a small hobby farm and ranch here in Blanchard, Oklahoma. But I wanted something that didn't require my constant care and attention. This breed of cow is known to be very rugged, very hardy, low disease, ease of birthing, and low maintenance, and it has proved to be that over this last course of the year of raising these cattle. Here on the ranch, we started off with 4 what we believe bred Highland cows, and it turns out that 3 of them were bred, and we had 3 calves. All 3 of them had the calf on their own, didn't have to have any help. The only difficulty was that these mother cows did such a good job of hiding their baby cattle that we weren't able to see them. Here on the 100-acre wood highlands, where there's lots of woods, and these mother cows would go and hide these babies and protect them from not only predators that could be out there, but the farmer, myself. And so I wanted a cattle breed that I didn't have to provide a lot of extra attention and help when it came time to having calves. These Scottish Highland cattle can live for up to 20 years, and it's not uncommon for them to have more than 15 calves throughout their lifetime. So that was another big reason to have this breed of cow that can have calves year after year for many, many years and not really have to help them along that way. Another thing that goes in with the ease of handling is they're a smaller body size. You know, if I was to go up here and stand next to my bull here, White Walker, you'd notice that he's pretty short, and he's about 2 years old. He probably only comes up to you know, the bottom part of my chest, and full grown, these Scottish Highland cattle are still going to weigh around 1,000 pounds, but they're not near as big as some other commercial breed of cattle. Why that's another good benefit is that they require less feed to maintain that body size and retain a good body condition. They're excellent foragers. So here in the winter, we've got several of our pastures that we just didn't brush hog down, and they're grazing on all of those still, and we're supplementing them with these mineral tubs and protein cubes. But this smaller body size means it's going to cost me less money to buy hay. Hey Cinnamon, what you doing? Did you get some of that protein? Yeah. See, Cinnamon here, she's kind of friendly. She wants to eat from your hand, but at the same time she doesn't really want you to touch her. But you can see how small she is. You know, that protein tub is probably a little under 2 foot tall, and she's probably then only about 4 foot tall total. So being 1.5 years old and being that small, she's a small frame Scottish Highland, which means she's going to require less food to keep her healthy throughout the winter, and I can have more of them on a limited amount of pasture land. So the third reason that I wanted to raise this breed of cattle, was for beef. Scottish Highland cattle can be milked, but that wasn't the purpose of these cattle. They were for, number one, enjoyment and pleasure to spend some time out here on the farm raising some animals and get a little bit of side income, but 2, to eventually have some good grass-fed beef that I know where it comes from. So this outer layer of hair, not only does it cause these cows just to look so distinctive and beautiful, but and keep them warm throughout the winter, it also adds to them being a really lean type of beef. That outer layer of hair, because it keeps them warm, causes them to not have such a layer of outer fat on their bodies, and so they're known to be a little bit leaner beef. And that's a healthy choice that, for us, we decided that we probably would rather eat lean beef. We also like the fact that these cows are not from a feedlot. They're out here on the farm. They've got access to over 100 acres of grazing land that they can eat, and of course we supplement them in the winter time with protein and give them cubes, not only to supplement their diet, but also to get them used to being around me and to have them come up when I call. And it's fun to be able to feed them by hand, but they're going to be grass-fed beef that we know where it comes from. We know how that animal was raised and how it was treated, and eventually we'll have beef to feed our family. Now, the 3 calves that were born this year, we had 2 bull calves. Hey, Cinnamon. We had 2 bull calves and 1 heifer calf. This first round of calves, I'm probably going to keep the heifer and eventually look for a new home for the 2 bulls. But in the future, as the herd grows, we're going to have grass-fed beef for not only our family and friends, but for customers that want a healthy choice of beef on a farm that they knew exactly where this meat comes from. So those are my 3 reasons why I really wanted to raise Scottish Highland cattle. And I think altogether, that helped me confirm my decision that I really wanted to raise this type, this breed. I think in the end, the combination of their looks, their ease of raising, and the good quality beef that they're going to be able to provide eventually in the future, it is going to help me make a market for my hobby farm that I have here. And that was one of my major concerns when I was looking into buying these was, well, if I buy them and I start having calves, am I ever going to be able to sell these calves? And I think the answer is going to be yes. I've had multiple different inquiries already about people trying to find some Scottish Highland cows in this area and asking questions about, you know, how do they handle the heat? How do they handle the cold? How are they around other kinds of animals? And so I've really enjoyed raising this kind of animal. And I think when it's time to have calves, it's going to be no problem for me to find a new home for some of these animals, whether they're wanting to raise them and start their own herd or whether they're wanting some grass-fed beef for themselves. I think a small herd is going to be no problem for me to maintain around here on the farm. I don't ever have any grand goals of having, you know, a herd of 100 Highlands. That'd be a full-time job. And what I really wanted was a part-time hobby farm that I could raise some animals, enjoy this time out here in the outdoors, and hopefully make a little bit of money. So if you've got questions about Scottish Highland cattle, I'd love to talk to you. You can find me online on Facebook by searching 100 Acre Wood Highlands, and there we keep up with pictures of what's going on the farm, all the pictures of the cows that we've got, the baby calves, and it's just a fun experience raising these animals. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you've got any questions, just feel free to leave a comment below and I'd love to talk to you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.